Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Hungaroring for the fourth event of the Euro Formula Open season as we approach the halfway point of the season. So we're at the halfway point of the Euro Formula Open season here at the Hungaroring, where we have got a fantastic weekend of racing ahead of us. Two races, of course, as ever, from the Euro Formula Open. And you join myself, Ben Evans, on a damp and overcast morning. The rain was coming down very, very heavily until the track opened about 8:30 this morning. Thereafter, as you can see, the rain has abated, but it's still a very damp circuit that's greeting the drivers. So somewhat different conditions to the ones that they enjoyed during free practice yesterday. Well, in terms of the championship, of course, it's Harrison Scott who leads the standings, and Scott, who has won 5 of the 6 races that we have had so far this season, including a complete clean sweep at Paul Ricard 3 weekends ago when he qualified on pole for both races, set the fastest lap in both races, and of course won both races. But he may not have it all his own way this weekend, because there's been a little bit of chopping and changing amongst the field, and the main news is that Petru Florescu, the Romanian driver who started the season with the Campos team, has moved across to the Fortec squad for this event at Hungaroring. That freed up a berth in the Campos pit box, which has been filled by Raoul Hyman, who's racing with the squad in the GP3 Championship this year. And Hyman, very experienced Formula 3 competitor, having raced in the Formula 3 Euro Series a couple of years ago. Also, I believe, in the British Formula 3 Championship as well. And it was Hyman who was the pace setter yesterday. Well, there is the car of Eliseo Martinez, who is following Mateus Orio around the track at the moment. They're just really getting a little bit of heat into the tyres. The format, if you've never seen one of these Euro Formula Open sessions before, is that typically the first half of the session they'll set banker times, then come in, put on some new rubber, and then really go for a time in the second half of the session. However, with the damp track this morning, there's kind of almost 2 jobs to be done. First of all, they've got to set a good lap on the wet tyres, but secondly, because these cars have got big wings at the front and the rear of the car, they are going to start to shift some water fairly quickly, and that may just give us a dry line to gamble on later on in the session. So there is the South African, Raoul Hyman, pace setter yesterday, as we said, in the Campos car. Campos team have had a couple of podiums so far this season in the hands of Mateus Orio and Thiago Vivacqua, not quite, though, the run of success that they enjoyed last year en route to the championship with Leonardo Pulcini, but certainly putting Hyman into the car this weekend, they will be looking to challenge for victories once more. The only other driver besides Scott who has won a race this year is Amir Weidenathan in the Qualy Motorsport entries, and Weidenathan victorious in race 1 at Spa. He's currently second in the standings, albeit the best part of 70 points adrift of Scott. Third in the standings is Nikita Troitsky for the DriveX team. Troitsky, who finished runner-up in both the races at Paul Ricard, and that moved him well up the standings. And then fourth in the points is the Fortec driver Yanni Fittier, the young German, having a very, very good weekend in Paul Ricard. 4th place and a 3rd place, elevating him up to 4th in the points ahead of Devlin De Francesco. As you can see, Raoul Hyman really on it as he heads in to a flying lap. He's just posted the first quick time of the session, a 1:52.3. But I think as the track dries out, we'll expect to see the times tumbling as the session unfolds. So we've got the 4.3 kilometre challenge of the Hungaroring, track that's not massively changed since its construction in the mid-1980s. So he winds down through turn 3, then kicking through the right-hander at turn 4, brings him onto one of the longest straights on the circuit into the quick kinks turns 5 and 6, out to the furthest extremity of the track, where he begins the winding run back towards the pit area. Well, there's the BVM car of Daniel Pranenko, and he has got just behind him Lodovico Laurini, the Italian driver. Laurini, who has certainly been in the thick of the action this year, currently 14th in the standings. And there is Laurini getting in the thick of the action once more. Quick spin, the Italian. This is always the challenge when the track is so damp in a qualifying session like this is you put a wheel on the grass or a white line and around you go, because as ever these Euro Formula Open cars, they've got all the grip in the world, both mechanical and aerodynamic, until suddenly that grip disappears. There's a bit of a lock up there from Pronenko, who's still looking to get into the points for the first time this season. The Russian, who has had a couple of 11th place finishes, also has been very unfortunate to be the victim of other people's accidents on a couple of occasions as he lives dangerously, gets out towards the AstroTurf. The car kicks sideways and chasing them down. This is the championship leader then, Harrison Scott. And Scott, who has had 4 pole positions as well this season, really has been class act of the field. And for Scott as well, he's got the benefit, he knows this Hungaroring circuit, unlike many of the drivers in the field, having raced here in the Formula Renault Euro Cup on several occasions. So that, for Harrison Scott, is going to make his life a little bit easier as he accelerates through the final turn. Mateus Iorio, Brazilian, the reigning Brazilian Formula 3 champion, looks to get up to speed in another of the Campos entries. And the 20-year-old, still with Eliseo Martinez running behind him. It's actually Martinez who is the quicker of the pair thus far in the session in the Teo Martin Motorsport car, and then they've got chasing them down Devlin De Francesco, the Canadian rookie, again for Carlin, 5th in the standings for De Francesco. His best weekend of the season came at Spa-Francorchamps with a 3rd place and a 2nd place finish. A slightly more torrid time of it, Paul Ricard retiring early in race 1 and 5th place in race 2. So Nikita Troitsky moves to the top of the times, 1:51.3, and there is the Russian, who has qualified exceptionally well throughout much of the season so far. He has had 2 pole positions, but then what he's not yet been able to do is convert those pole positions into race wins. That said, in both the races at Paul Ricard, he was able to get the line a little bit more cleanly than Harrison Scott, but Scott, when Troitsky did lead into turn 1 in race 2, was able to reassert the lead fairly quickly thereafter. As Troitsky backs out of it, Christian Hahn, his teammate, takes evasive action. The Brazilian currently 17th in the standings, and Troitsky, I think, possibly just looking for a little bit of air before he goes for a lap time. It's number 2 car, Thiago Vivacqua, also for the Carlin team, went past him. Vivacqua currently in 6th in the championship. Having been on the podium twice in Estoril and Spa. And I'm being a little bit tentative, by the way, in giving you some of the times and the standings, just because we're getting a lot of lap times being deleted because of track limit violations. But it's currently Tarun Reddy who is at the top of the times, a 1:51.4, ahead of Devlin De Francesco 2nd. So good start session for Carlin, as the 3rd Carlin car, Amaya Vaidonathan, is in 3rd. Now accelerating through, over the line, comes Thiago Vivacqua. Vivacqua doesn't improve on that last lap, as you can see, he moves offline, trying to cool down the wet tyre, because the deeply cut grooves in the wet Michelin tyre give, obviously, an abundance of grip on the wet track. But as soon as they start getting onto the drier asphalt, then the tyre overheats, those cut blocks start to move around, and the car starts to feel a little bit like you're driving on jelly. As Vivacqua just has a little bit of a nibble as he swings down through turn 3, turn 4, for accelerating slightly uphill into turns 5 and 6. Harrison Scott on a good lap. He's just on the fastest first sector of anybody. Vivacqua didn't set a personal best first sector. Also flying is Amaya Vaidonathan. Vaidonathan is just on the best middle sector of anybody of the session so far. So the Indian may well move to the top of the times momentarily, as Vivacqua not having a brilliant lap thus far. He's got Christian Hahn chasing him down. Now here is the current pole sitter, Tarun Reddy, but not for long, because Amaya Vaidonathan goes quickest, 1:50.6, half a second up on the rest of the field, and it shows that the track is getting much quicker with each and every lap. But also, we're seeing the drivers struggling a little bit for consistency as Harlin, there is Amir Weidenathan, our current pole sitter. Now can Weidenathan improve once more? As he swoops downhill, well, certainly what is becoming clear is the track isn't going to dry out enough for it to be dry enough for slick tyres over the next 90 minutes or so. So it's what they can do on these wets as the track dries out. Simo Laaksonen goes second for the Finnish driver for the Campos team. Not for long, Nikita Troitsky immediately pips him. So it's Weidenathan from Troitsky, then Laaksonen. Terran Reddy in fourth. Christian Hahn, a very good lap for fifth, as Weidenathan runs a little bit wide. Terran Reddy briefly, well, he moves fourth, although warning flag for track limits. Christian Hahn fifth, Devon De Francesco sixth. Harrison Scott currently in eighth place. Raoul Hyman, the pacer from yesterday, in ninth, but still a lot of laps to go over the course of this qualifying session. And what you can see almost from corner to corner is that sections of the circuit there is a clear dry line. Other sections of the track there is quite clearly not a dry line, and that means that managing the temperature of the tyre is going to be absolutely key as we are heading towards the midpoint of the session. So we might see some of the drivers peeling into the pits now to put on a fresh set of boots. Devlin De Francesco becomes the first of them as Weidenathan again moves the inside of the road down the start and finish straight. This is the section of the track really that's the most substantially changed here at the Hungaroring, where the start and finish straight was just elongated a few years ago. Turn one tightened. It gives another overtaking opportunity on a track which has always been notoriously difficult to pass on. It's a track, however, that's really satisfying for the drivers. They do enjoy it, as Simo Laaksonen in pursuit of Alex Karkozic, the pair of them accelerating through to complete the lap. And Laaksonen doesn't quite improve, a 1 minute 51.3. The driver who is flying is just behind him on the track, Nikita Troitsky, car 16. And Troitsky is looking set possibly to pit Weidenathan for the fastest time in the session. We'll find out in a moment's time. Indeed he does. So Troitsky now goes top, a 1 minute 50.2. Weidenathan second, 1 minute 50.6. Laaksonen, who we're watching, is currently in third, a 1 minute 50.9. Terran Reddy fourth, a 1 minute 51.2. Christian Hahn is fifth, 1 minute 51.2 as well. Already starting to see quite a few of the drivers peeling into the pit lane, having completed their initial runs. And it's out on that far section of the circuit where you can see it's far too damp to start considering slick tyres. Plumes of water being kicked off from Laaksonen, but then it's really now as they head out of turns 10 and 11, it's final run of the lap, final sector of the lap, where you can see a very distinct dry line that's beginning to emerge, particularly through turns 14, 15 and 16. Yeah, there's the evidence of it. It's certainly not quite dry enough for anybody to gamble yet. Laaksonen quite clearly on an in-lap as he winds his way back towards the pits, having had a good first half of the session. This is always the beauty of a damp qualifying session, is that you do get potentially a slightly jumbled grid, because they won't have had any damp running, particularly maybe a couple of showers on Thursday in private testing. In fact, Laaksonen's going to wind up for another lap here. Having backed right off, cooled the tyres down, he's going to give it another roll of the dice with a substantively empty track. He's got teammate Raoul Hyman as well behind him. And Hyman has just done a personal best lap of the, or rather Hyman's in front of him, a 1 minute 51.1 for Hyman. So he goes fourth. It's Thiago Vivacqua, his Campos teammate, behind him. So many of the Campos cars electing to stay out on track for a few laps during this mid-session hiatus. Otherwise, the bulk of the rest of the field are in. Harrison Scott currently in seventh, the championship leader. But with over half the session to run, still probably not seen him showing his full hand. Now Laaksonen coming towards the end of the first sector on this lap, and it's a personal best for the sector as well, a 39.7 for Laaksonen, so he could be on for an improved time. He's exactly a quarter of a second adrift of pole position at the moment, as Nikita Troitsky rehydrates the DriveX pit box. staying appraised of what's going out on track. Now let's stay with Laxton. He's midway through the second sector. Personal best through sector 1. And he's really leaving it all out there, out over the curbs. Pushing hard, Simo Laaksonen. Swoops through again, uses all the curb. Coming towards the end of the second sector. He does the fastest second sector of anybody of the session thus far. And the Finn, who's got a season's best result of 6th place, could be on for a very, very good lap here. Raoul Hyman has just gone 2nd, meanwhile. So Hyman beginning to show his pace, 1 minute 50.8, as I don't think he's on a flying lap. As Laaksonen does indeed go quickest. So Simo Laaksonen, a 1 minute 49.7 for Simo Laaksonen, which was the lap we started following. And it shows the track is getting ever quicker. And that moves Laaksonen 9/10 clear of the rest of the field. Raoul Hyman pushing. Don't think he's on course for a particularly quick lap on this occasion. He does his best middle sector of the session so far. And this is what's always fun on the drying circuit, is that each and every lap potentially gets quicker and quicker. It's going to become a real shootout towards the latter stage of the qualifying, as Mateus Iorio has emerged from the pits, and those look like slick tyres to me. So that is a bit of a gamble for the Brazilian. Now the real challenge here is going to be warming the tyres enough to start working before he gets to the really treacherous middle sector on the lap, which is where there is a less evident dry line. Certainly a gamble for Iorio. You can see through turns 3 and 4, it's a gamble that might not necessarily be that effective. So Iorio, the first to emerge from the pits, and he's gone out on slicks. So far, the car's not snapped away from him. So the order, Laaksonen from Weidenheithen, then Raoul Hyman. And Simo Laaksonen certainly set the new benchmark, a 1 minute 49.7 for what can be achieved on the wet tyres. The question is now, what can Mateus Iorio and others potentially do on the slicks? This lap certainly looks like it has been a little bit of a voyage into the unknown for the Brazilian. He's just having to be very delicate and balanced with the right foot. There's obviously no tread on the slick tyre, and that means that it's going to be slippery as anything for him. Also emerging from the pits is Lodovico Laurini. So clearly, again, on slicks, there is clearly a consensus in the pit lane that there is not an awful lot more joy to be had from the wet tyre. Although Laxtonen's time may have disproved that, but that it's worth gambling on the slick. Christian Hahn, another driver, rolling out of the pits now. I think the key is going to be seeing what Mateus Iorio can do as the first of the drivers to have completed some laps on the slicks, probably in a couple of laps' time once he's really warmed them up. Now, there is a Meyer Weidenheithen. Again, those look like scrubbed slick tyres to me. Second place in the session, Carlin driver heads out. Now, of course, once they can get the heat in the slicks with the aerodynamic grip, they don't need a fully dry circuit. It's just a bit of a gamble to say that it has completely crossed over yet, the track, from being quicker on wets than slicks. So Mateus Iorio is just through sector 1. He's just on a 40.9. As here comes Daniel Pranenko. So Pranenko in the BVM car. And again, on slick rubber. On the brakes into turn 1. The Russian currently in 17th position. The field now all out of the pits. Track position becomes key at this point as well. Or as the car snaps away from Pranenko into turn 3, runs out over the paint, has to wait until he's guided it back onto the circuit before he can then start to accelerate again. Now, Iorio has just set his personal best middle sector of the session through sector 2. So he's finding an improved level of pace on his first flying lap on the slick tyre, because what I should say, as Pranenko goes sideways, is that although it looks very damp and muggy and overcast, it's still pretty warm here today, the Hungaroring. As Pranenko gets in amongst the traffic jam, there is Tiago Vivacqua as Iorio just goes second. So Iorio 1 minute 50.1, 4/10 adrift to Simo Laxtonen's best. So shows what we know here in the commentary box. The crossover point may well have been reached, as we're starting to see massively improved sectors from the drivers now. It's just that middle sector that's a little bit treacherous, as are turns 3 and 4. If they can navigate that, then the rest of the track is starting to come towards them. So now it starts to become a shootout into the final third of qualifying. And therein lies the risk. Second rotation of the session for Ludovico Laurini. Pranenko accelerates out of the final turn. Matheus Iorio has just done the fastest first sector of anybody of the session thus far. He may have had to have backed off, though, for the spin of Ludovico Laurini. So the order is Laxtonen, Iorio, Weidenheithen is third, Raoul Hyman fourth, Nikita Troitsky fifth, Taron Reddy sixth, Christian Hahn seventh, Harrison Scott in 8th. Now here is Matheus Iorio, who is on course for setting the best time of the session so far. So don't forget the Brazilian is a lap ahead of everybody else in terms of getting some warmth and performance out of his slick Michelin tyre as he heads into the final turn. You can see he's starting to ask some big questions of the aerodynamic grip of the car, and it's answering at the moment. So across the line comes Iorio. This should be a very good lap, as he blasts through a 1 minute 45.7. So immediately onto the slick tyre with the heat in it, 4 seconds quicker than teammate Laxtonen managed to exert from his wets. The whole field out on track, and now the times are going to start to tumble, but they're in amongst the traffic. Devlin De Francesco runs ahead of Eliseo Martinez. De Francesco on for his best lap of the session, as he runs a little bit wide through the final turn, accelerates onto the start and finish straight. And De Francesco, however, goes second. It's Pedro Cardoso, in fact, behind him, and Cardoso goes second, having been a little bit quicker than De Francesco over that last lap. So it's Iorio, Cardoso, now Raoul Hyman goes third, De Francesco fourth. Those are the 4 times that we've had posted on the slicks. Just shy of 7 minutes to run, and Matheus Iorio is now on an absolute flyer once more. Oh, he was. Huge spin from Iorio, leaving it all out there. He'd just done the fastest first sector of anybody. So the question, therefore, is what can the likes of Harrison Scott start to do? Nobody, by the way, has got anywhere near the pace that was shown by Iorio, as Pedro Cardoso, getting a little bit frustrated here by Devlin De Francesco, now pushes his way past the Canadian. Raoul Hyman is on a flyer, so is Simo Laxtonen, and really the Campos team would appear to have got a very, very good setup for their cars on this drying track. It's their competitors who are the ones who are on the charge. Iorio, but for that spin, would have comfortably improved his time on that last lap. He still set a lap time better than anybody else, despite the spin we saw. Laxtonen goes second, 1 minute 46.7. But Raoul Hyman is well set for pole position. He's just done, and he hasn't come through yet. Weidenheithen improves, he goes second. As Cardoso accelerates across the line. So in the back of your picture is Raoul Hyman. It's the white car. There he is across the line, and Hyman goes quickest. A 1 minute 44.5 for the South African. So he moves to pole, 1.1 seconds clear of Matheus Iorio. Pedro Cardoso is third. Was third. Yanni Fitcher goes to pole position. A 1:44.4. 5 minutes to go, and it keeps changing. Tiago Vivacqua sets a new benchmark of 1 minute 43.5 for another of the Campos drivers. Vivacqua now almost a second clear of the rest of the field. Fitcher in second, Hyman's third, Nikita Troitsky's fourth, Yorio's fifth, Pedro Cardoso sixth, Amir Vaidanathan seventh. And the big question is, what of Harrison Scott, as Petru Florescu in second of the Fortec cars pops up into third place. We're watching his teammate, currently second position for Yanni Fitcher. And the German has been getting better and better with each and every round so far this season, as he really establishes a strong working relationship with the Fortec team. Iorio, meanwhile, improves his time, moves into second position. And Harrison Scott, the championship leader, he's on his best lap of the session so far, but it looks as if it is unlikely to propel him into pole position. He's in sector 3 at the moment. In fact, it is. Harrison Scott goes top. A 1 minute 42.8 from Harrison Scott. And it's then Christian Harnko's second, so the track is getting quicker and quicker with each and every lap. And Alex Karkozik, we saw briefly, he's flying. Raul Hyman now goes to pole, so Hyman goes top, a 1 minute 42.4. We watch Petru Florescu, so the Romanian. Last time we talked about him, he was in second, he's now in 11th, but on his best lap of the session, and pretty much each and every time somebody comes across the line now, they're improving their time as the track dries out. 3 minutes to run. This is an absolutely thrilling conclusion to this session as Christian Hahn flies sideways. Fourth place for the Brazilian at the moment. His best qualifying showing of the season to date. So the order is Hyman from Fitcher, Harrison Scott third, Hahn fourth, Troitsky fifth, Cardoso in sixth, Laxonen seventh, Martinez in eighth, Karkozik in ninth, and Vivacqua in 10th as the red flag comes out now. Who has gone missing is the question. So the red flag is out just as the session was reaching a crescendo. We'll try, and that's the reason why, and it's a big off for Pedro Cardoso in the Teo Marti Motorsport car, and blocking the circuit. He's moving around in the cockpit, which is good to see, but the car has clearly gone into the barrier, possibly at both ends. So the red flag out with 2 3/4 minutes left on the clock. Whether or not we'll get a restart, we'll see. Cardoso staying put for the moment. So as the red flag comes out, it's Raul Hyman who is quickest. Second place to Yanni Fitcher. Third is Harrison Scott. Fourth, Christian Hahn. Fifth, Nikita Troitsky. Sixth, Carl's brought out the red flag, Pedro Cardoso. Seventh, Simo Laxonen. Eighth, Eliseo Martinez. I'm starting to see times being deleted as well for track limits. And it's Raul Hyman who's been affected again. So it promotes now Yanni Fitcher to pole, and Hyman has lost both of his flying laps on slick tyres. So he now shuffles down to 17th because of track limit time deletions. So despite being the quickest driver in the session, having fallen foul on track limits, he's actually losing those lap times down to 17th. So it's Fitcher from Harrison Scott, Christian Hahn in third, Troitsky fourth, Cardoso fifth, Laxonen is sixth, seventh Eliseo Martinez, eighth Alex Karkozik, ninth Thiago Vivacqua, 10th Daniel Pranenko, 11th Tarun Reddy, 12th Devlin De Francesco, 13th Mateus Iorio, 14th Petru Florescu, 15th Amir Vaidanathan, 16th Lodovico Laurini, and 17th Raul Hyman. So a lot of quick drivers potentially losing out. We've got 2 3/4 minutes left in the session. And so what that means is that they're going to have time for an out lap and one flying lap when we do get back underway. So this is going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to be, well, that's good to see that Pedro Cardoso is okay. And the car, yeah, he's definitely done both ends of it. But most importantly, he's all right. And hopefully the Teo Marti Motorsport squad can effect the necessary repairs to get Cardoso onto the grid. So we're going to have time for one out lap and then one flying lap. So it's going to become an absolute shootout. Track position is going to be key, and the driver who is best positioned for that is championship leader Harrison Scott. There he is at the front of the queue. Currently second in the standings in the session, mainly courtesy of the lost times for Raoul Hyman. Can't see Hyman in the queue, which suggests that he is going to have a fair amount of traffic to navigate. In fact, there you see Hyman, just to the left of your picture. Now here is the tail end of Pedro Cardoso's accident. And it was just coming out of turn 6. We saw Lodovico Laurini and Matteo Siorio caught out there earlier in the session. But for Cardoso, he's the driver who has been the one who lost out. Oh, and that is not how you want to see the car recovered, is it? Up onto two wheels, Pedro Cardoso, who remonstrates as he comes back down to earth. We'll see if we can get a replay of that. Not sure how that happened as we cut to it. Here we go. So he's being accelerated away on the tow rope. Whoopsie, up onto two wheels as the recovery vehicle did a U-turn. Well, we are at the Hungaroring, which certainly Taki Inoue would tell you about the enthusiasm of rescue vehicles after he got run over by a fire car back in the 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix. What it means is there is an ongoing delay now probably to recover Cardoso's car because the suspension has certainly taken a bit of a thump. So we haven't yet got a view as to when the session will restart. Waiting for confirmation of that on the timing screen. It certainly sets us up very nicely for the race later on today. Of course, you'll be able to watch the race live in all the usual places. Live stream it, of course, for you as ever. As we approach the halfway point of the season. And really the big question is, can anybody take the championship fight to Harrison Scott as Richard Dutton and Jamie Dye, team principal, team manager at Fortec, confer on the pit wall. The race this afternoon, just to mark your diary, green flag at 3:15 local time, so our coverage will start about 10 minutes before then. Inspection of the Michelin tire as well, because it's taken a few laps for them to get some heat into them. So these out laps are going to be absolutely key. Lots of weaving around, I'd imagine. Really warm up the tyre, try and get some clear air, and then released for a solitary flying lap. Just looking from the commentary box out to the far side of the circuit. The area where Cardoso was in trouble is just obscured by some trees, so it can't quite see whether or not the track has been cleared. There's also just a little bit of sweeping of debris that possibly needed to be concluded as well. I don't think it should be too long before we have Pedro Cardoso's car recovered. The green flag being shown. You can see the recovery vehicle making its way back through the circuit internal routes now. Interesting to see as well the majority of the drivers in the field just wanting to be left to their own devices at this point. Maybe talking to team members on the radio. But just sitting poised, ready for the session to get back underway. There are a couple of drivers who did lose out with the red flag. Simo Laaksonen, who just set the fastest middle sector of the session, and Raoul Hyman, who just set the fastest first sector of the session. Which certainly indicated pretty strongly that there was still more pace to be found in the track. Just looking for an indication on the time screen of when the session will restart. As yet, unconfirmed. Chance for the start line marshals to have a little bit of a pause. Cars all lined up in the pit lane, ready to go. And this is one of the reasons why Championship, like the Euro Formula Open, is so popular. It's the challenges such as this, where you get a late red flag in the session, having to stay composed, keep composed, knowing that you're just going to get a single effort to try and post a flying lap. We've seen some really impressive performances throughout the field during qualifying so far. Confirmation that the session restarts in 70 seconds' time. Christian Hahn in particular in third place, the Brazilian in the DriveX car, who had a slightly difficult time of it through the opening rounds of the season, but really enjoying the mixed conditions. Yanni Fitcher currently in pole position, the German, who's been getting better with each and every performance. Breakthrough podium last time out in Paul Ricard. And right on it in qualifying this morning, really starting to establish a very good working relationship with the Fortec team. Whether or not we'll be able to hold on to that pole position through to the end of the session, we will find out. Nikita Troitsky, second in the DriveX cars, in fourth. Simo Laaksonen in sixth, but I think possibly a little bit more to come from him. And it's that the Carlin drivers, Taryn Reddy, Devlin De Francesco, Meir Weidenathan, all of whom are outside of the top 10, this is going to be an important lap for them, because as we were saying at the very top of the session, this is not the easiest circuit to overtake on. You can do it, particularly into turn one, but a good grid position, a good first lap is going to be absolutely key, and therefore there is heightened importance for this next lap. Although, of course, unlike many other championships, the Euro Formula Open, each and every race has its own qualifying session, so poor qualifying doesn't quite go to plan this morning, doesn't necessarily jeopardise the rest of the weekend, because they will then have, of course, qualifying tomorrow morning to set the grid for tomorrow's race. And a slight further delay to the restart of the session. It now will restart at 10:50 rather than 10:48, which had originally been planned, so it's another 90 seconds or thereabouts before the green flag is issued to the drivers. And this is always such a difficult moment, is when you're waiting for the session to be restarted, you get a time confirmed to say the session is restarting now, and then it's pushed back by a further 2 minutes. Just more time sitting in the cockpit as Mateus Yorio, who's currently 13th, but again, had a good session. He will need to try and find some clear air. Now, this is Christian Hahn, hard at work, really pushing. You can see he's just on that razor's edge where the aerodynamic grip is starting to cry enough, and he's dipping into the mechanical grip available to him. And he fits you riding the curb. And again, those close-up shots, what's so nice about them, particularly in these damp conditions, you can see the driver's eyes looking up the road ahead of them, because almost as they're driving a corner, that corner's in the past, they're thinking about the next sequence of turns, particularly here, as there's so few straights. You need to get into that good rhythm. Alex Karkozik, well up in 8th place in the RP Motorsport car. And then Simo Laaksonen similarly. So the track goes green. So now the shootout well and truly back underway. What we hope is that nobody spins and puts it into the barrier on the outlap, and thus curtailing the session. So the driver who really needs to find something here is Raoul Hyman. 2 pole position laps potentially lost because of track limit infringements. Now it's going to be on this outlap probably about 2 minutes round, so they can't afford to be tardy here, because otherwise they might lose the chance to set a flying lap. At the same time, once they get within sort of a second or so of the car in front of them, they'll start to get caught in its turbulent air. That will affect the lap time as well. So it is a bit of a balancing act. The driver who is going to benefit the most, of course, from this is going to be Harrison Scott, who through really the luck of the draw as much as anything, ended up at the front of the queue for this restart. But that's sometimes how it goes in championship push seasons, when it's the little moments like that that just swing in your favour. It's Weidenathan tucked up behind Christian Hahn, seeing if he can pick his way past the Brazilian. At the same time, Hahn wants clear air for him to push. Now, Harrison Scott, just on the outlap, sets the fastest middle sector of anybody, and you can see the track, having had now 10 minutes to dry out, is looking certain to be quicker than it was before the red flag came out. So, track position permitting, everybody should be in for an improvement this time around, as they all pause themselves heading into the final turn. The driver we're going to be watching for here is the very last in the queue, which is Raoul Hyman. First of all, whether he crosses the line with enough time left in the session, and then where he goes from there. So here we go into this final flying lap of what's been a thrilling qualifying session for the Euro Formula Open on a very rapidly drying Hungaroring circuit, as 16 cars all out, all looking to push, and Harrison Scott, front of the queue, just sets the fastest first sector of anybody. So Scott, he has got the advantage of a clear circuit. Everybody made it through before the flag came out as well, and the flag out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So they're all on the last lap of the session. Who can find the space? Who can find the improvement? Scott is coming towards the end of the middle sector. 36.7 for Scott through sector 1, 36.8 from Yanni Fitcher. And Scott, fastest middle sector of the session as well. 34.7 for Harrison Scott. So he's going to be the first driver to take the flag as we follow Devlin De Francesco. And here is Harrison Scott, and this is looking like it's going to be potentially another pole position for the Brit. He accelerates out of the final turn in the RP Motorsport car, takes the flag, goes top, a 1:38.0, so the track improving by 4 seconds during the red flag pause. Simo Laaksonen goes second, a 1:38.6. Weidenathan, a 1:39.3. He goes third. De Francesco to fourth, a 1:39.3. Alex Karkozic jumps to third, a 1:38.8 for Karkozic. No purple sectors from anybody else, which suggests that Harrison Scott is going to take pole position here. It's all the juggling behind which is worth watching. Vivacqua goes third, Yanni Fitcher to fifth, Troitsky to sixth. Just a couple of cars to go through, and Hyman goes pole. Raoul Hyman takes pole position by 28 thousandths of a second on the final lap of the session, a 1:38.069 versus the 1:38.097 for Harrison Scott. So they all take the checkered flag, and it is Raoul Hyman who has pole position. Second place doesn't go to Harrison Scott because he lost that time because of track limits. So Harrison Scott, in fact, will start in 15th place on adjusted times, a 1:42.8 being his best. So the grid looks like it is going to be, so we've got more lap times deleted. Devlin De Francesco also loses out. It looks like it's going to be Raoul Hyman in pole, Simo Laaksonen in second, Thiago Vivacqua to third, Alex Karkozic in fourth, Yanni Fitcher in fifth, Nikita Troitsky sixth, Amer Weidenathan 7th, Mateus Iorio 8th, Taryn Reddy 9th, Petru Florescu 10th, 11th to Christian Hahn, 12th Daniel Pranenko, 13th Ludovico Laurini, Harrison Scott to start from 14th place, having had his best time deleted, Pedro Cardoso in 15th, Eliseo Martinez in 16th, and Devlin De Francesco, who also lost his best time, starts in 17th place. What a fantastic race we have got in prospect a little bit later on today. Join us just after 3 o'clock Central European time for the 7th round of the Euro Formula Open. So here's a look at it then. Raoul Hyman, the pole position, Simo Laaksonen to second, Thiago Vivacqua in third, a Campos Racing clean sweep of the top 3 places. In fourth, Alex Karkozic, fifth to Yanni Fitcher, sixth Nikita Troitsky, 7th Amer Weidenathan, ahead of Mateus Iorio, then Tarun Reddy and Petru Florescu, who completes the top 10. Christian Hahn in 11th, Elbranenko 12th. Harrison Scott, losing his best time, will start from 14th. And then Devlin De Francesco at the back of the field behind Pedro Cardoso and Eliseo Martinez. Promises to be an excellent race later on today for the Euro Formula Open. Raoul Hyman will start from pole position. So make sure you join us this afternoon for the 7th round of the Euro Formula Open season.
Különösebben elégedett ezzel a 7. hellyel. Meglátjuk, hogy a futam során mennyit tud előrébb kivározni, majd vagy tud esetleg a dobogó közelébe férkőzni, hiszen azért mégiscsak jó bajnokság.